morning students. I hope you are doing well. This is Dr. Sarvesh and am here to give you a lecture on grammar. So let's work out how does grammar work. So in examinations like CAT, like Bank PO and other competitive examinations, we work out on sentence building because we need to work out on spotting the error. To spot an error, it is important for us to understand what kind of sentence framing are we supposed to understand grammatically. So let's begin with parts of speech. I am sure you are aware of the parts of speech. There are 8 parts of speech, beginning with noun, pronoun, verb, adverb, adjective, conjunction, preposition and interjection. So, amongst all these parts of speech, we will begin with the importance of conjunction today besides the rest. So, with conjunction, I will understand and I will help you understand what is the importance of subject verb agreement as a topic today. Today, as we take this topic, subject verb agreement, I want you to understand what is the importance of a subject of a sentence and the verb in the predicate of the sentence. So beginning with the concepts of subject verb agreement, let me put it this way to you. When we have to understand the importance of subject verb agreement, we need to generally understand that the subject of the sentence in association with the verb has to agree to make the sentence more meaningful and logical. So the base can be a sentence. When divided in 2 parts, has to be the first part, which is the subject of the sentence, and the other one, predicate. So when we talk about the subject of the sentence, we also have to understand that when we deal with subject verb agreement, the sentence has to have the subject which has to be identified by its nature. That would be singularity and its plurality. So that's the basis of identifying the subject. We need to approach to a sentence wherein the subject, the doer, has to be identified with its nature of singularity and plurality. To be precise, a sentence could be like he, she is a good student. To a sentence like this, what is the sentence talking about is the subject, which is single in nature, and the predicate has verb in it. That is what we need to identify, how the subject needs to be understood as well as the verb needs to agree with the nature of the subject, which makes the sentence correct. Logically, when we talk of sentence and the subject, we also have predicate. Since we need to talk of the predicate, we will as of now talk of the verb in the predicate. To begin with, verb we will deal with here are of 2 types. The first one is relative verb, which is also known as auxiliary verbs, also known as helping verbs. In simple form, they are is, am, are, was, were, have, has, had. If you remember, children, I talked about the nature of the subject, singular and plural. Same is the case with the nature of the relative verb, auxiliary verb or helping verb. So, is, am, was, has precisely would sit with the nature of a subject which is single in nature. That's why these relative verbs are also considered single in nature, whereas are, have, had, were sits with plural majorly. Coming back to the second form of verb which we are going to deal under this topic is action verb. Now, dealing with action verb, I'm sure you are all aware of the definition of verb, that is action words. So logically, action verbs are words which depict action. As of now, the action which is basically being dealt here is write, writes, talk, talks, stand, stands. Taking example of these three practical action verbs, let's understand which of them is singular and which of them is plural by nature. In any which ways, when we deal with a topic in grammar, tenses, that is when we will come across verb forms. As of now, when we talk about this action verb, we will be dealing with V1 form of verb, that means simple present form of verbs. So logically, write and writes, talk and talks, stand and stands, and many other simple form of verbs are logically action verbs which are in the V1 form, simple present tense. So out of them, the ones with S, please note, the ones with S are single in nature and the ones without an S are plural in nature. So I'm sure with this concept, what are we talking about is subject verb agreement, and here we have understood how to identify a subject and its nature, how to identify the form of verb and their nature. That is what is understood as a sentence's subject sits with the verb to agree. That's how we work out on subject verb agreement. Coming forward, I'll take you to this portion, and in this portion I have written some formulas for your convenience. Let me begin with the first formula and the first sentence. Let's say we have a sentence which says he is our sincere. So logically, every one of us is aware that if the subject of the sentence is single in nature and the verb in the predicate is relative verb, that is when the nature of the relative verb will always be in accordance with the nature of the subject. That means if the subject of the sentence is single and the subject is associated with a relative verb will always be single in nature. That means he is sincere. Same is the case with a sentence which has plural subject. Now, the subject when is plural and is associated with relative verb, example is are. We can also take was, were in a way. So, if we say that the sentence has a plural subject which is associated with a relative verb, that is when we need to identify and agree with the sentence's structure. So, if the sentence has plural subject and is associated with relative verb, the relative verb's nature will again be plural. So thus making a sensible sentence like they are sincere. So what have we understood here is the nature of the relative verb is as similar to the nature of the subject of the sentence. Clear? I'm sure you should be aware of these kinds of nitty-gritties in grammar. Alright, going further, we need to work out with action verbs. Now, talking about action verbs, you can easily identify what are action verbs. So, talking of the action verbs, these words like work, works are a form of V1 form of verbs which are basically action verbs. Taking a sentence, he works sincerely. So logically, if you had to identify what structure or what kind of action verb should sit with the subject, let's go ahead with this kind of a formula. Say for example, I have a sentence which has the subject which is single in nature, or else say without an s. That means there is no plurality in the nature of the subject. That is when it is associated with an action verb, it will just go in opposition to the nature of the subject. That means it will carry s, or it will take s, or in other ways it will agree with a action verb which has s at its end. So it becomes he works sincerely. What happened here is the nature of the action verb has to have dissimilarity with the nature of the subject. That's why if the subject is without an s, action verb will be with an s, or it could be considered as plural. So I will tell you what is plural and singular again. Do not be confused. Alright, coming to the fourth formula. Let's say that the sentence was constructed in such a manner that the subject of the sentence was plural or was considered plural. Without an s also, this particular word as a pronoun is considered plural. So let's say if the subject of the sentence is plural by nature or carries s, okay, and is associated with an action verb, the nature of the action verb will be in opposition to the nature of the subject. It will obviously go singular or else without an s, or without an s, correct? So if I say that they works sincerely, since the subject of my sentence is plural, the action verb will be without an s, correct? So it will be they work sincerely. Through these formulas, these four formulas, we will talk of how to work out on subject verb agreement and building up on sentences. This is an initial position onto which we have worked out on our basis. Let's talk of the next level in my next video. Thank you.